Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me this afternoon. I'm really very excited to have been asked to present because I know this is a really wonderful little showcase that Edge have put on. So very happy to be here. My name is Julia. I am the channel manager for Maximizer, and I will introduce myself a little bit more as we go along. But please, Chris, if you could give an overview, because you are the expert, and I bow to your knowledge.
No. Right, so what we are talking about here is we've been a business partner for the Maximizer software for over 20 years. Now, this is our 30th year anniversary showcase. So we've had very much a shared experience as us as an organization have developed. We've shared that with Maximizer. It's a product that we trust. We use it very much for managing all of our relationships with our customers and our suppliers. So we've been quietly working in the background to get to the point where we're thinking, wouldn't it be great when our parish and town councils and our crematoriums and cemeteries could also benefit from actually the functionality that actually Maximizer provides. So good news. We are now going to be launching two products. The first one I'm going to show you today, after actually Julia's done her presentation, is called AdvantEDGE CRM. Now, traditionally, CRM means customer relationship management. Some of you will be familiar with that if you've got a commercial background, and the sort of thing that you would actually use to manage your relationship with your customers in particular, but not always. It could be used. BBC, for instance, use Maximizer. Now, in this case, we are borrowing the C, which normally stands for customer, and we replaced it with council. So we're actually talking about council relationship management software. And what we're going to do is, on the screen at the moment, we have the traditional software, which is AdvantEDGE, which is all about managing the council. And we have 9 modules, which are shown by that wheel there. And each segment on the wheel represents a different module. So we've got our allotments, our bookings, our cemetery, our finance, our service manager for jobs and timesheets, our agendas and minutes, working with our members, inspections app for managing our inspections of our allotments, our assets, our playgrounds, our cemeteries, playground module itself, planning application module, the asset manager module, and our last one, which we're launching in 2 weeks' time, our new markets and events module. So that's AdvantEDGE. Now, we add in a missing link, and the bit that's missing is the bit that goes in the middle of the wheel, and that is Maximizer. So each one of the AdvantEDGE modules has lists of customers, and in case of finance, it has suppliers as well. But some of those customers are going to be in allotments. They're going to be in the booking system. They're going to be actually in the service manager as well for jobs and timesheets. So we've got a lot of potential duplication of information in each of the separate modules. What we're doing with Maximizer is we're providing a way of linking all of those together so that you've got one place in Maximizer to look to give you that nice overview dashboard to let you know for that particular customer whether they actually have an allotment, whether they put a complaint or some feedback into the council, whether they have a planning application, and whether they're also chairman of a particular committee on the council. All of that information will be linked within Maximizer itself, and it will provide you with that shared address book, which I'm going to show you, so that for people that are within the council that maybe are not familiar with any of the AdvantEDGE modules, they can just use Maximizer. They've got a nice shared address book. They've also got the ability to have hot list tasks to set you reminders to do things, to contact a particular customer or supplier before you actually go and create it in the service manager. So it gives that nice coordinated point. For larger councils, particularly a dozen or more staff, this will help a lot of people who maybe are just in their own little silo of information, maybe just bookings. So the clerk would then be able to actually easily see within Maximizer what's going on without having to go into the booking system. And I'll show you afterwards how you can also use it for things like credit control and everything. So it doesn't matter who owes you money, whether it's actually as a booking or an allotment holder or a customer in finance. Maximizer will know that information, and you will be able to have one coordinated place to look. Here's the nice thing. You can use it on your mobile as well. So you don't have to have a regular computer. That information will be automatically shared by the AdvantEDGE modules into Maximizer. So when you're out and about, you have that shared address book with all of those useful contacts that a lot of the officers have locked away in Outlook, typically, and not actually shared. Or it's a little bit actually in Outlook, which everyone has the private copy, and individual AdvantEDGE modules. We're going to bring it all together. So this is called AdvantEDGE CRM, Council Relationship Management. We are going to bring out, this is a proof of concept today to give you an idea of where we're going. We're going to launch in 2023, and we are going to also bring out Epitaph CRM. But in that case, instead of the C being council, it'll be C for cemetery or crematorium relationship management, which will help the crematoriums particularly manage the relationship with their customers, which is a mixture of funeral directors and also the public. So we are harnessing the power and the functionality that Maximizer have. And I personally have been using Maximizer going back before it was called Maximizer, in the days when it's called Tracker and the like. So Julia's smirking at this point. And it is, and I am not exaggerating, it's one of my favorite pieces of software, because when they transitioned from traditional Windows software and brought out their web cloud version, the look and the feel is world class. It's like a piece of Windows software, but actually it's done through the web. And that is brilliant. It is a really useful function. Very often when people transition into the web, you end up with pages of information which are way too tall and you can't find the things you want to. Maximize have got this actually right. So the team over in Vancouver, where there's development space, I've visited them in the past, done a fantastic job. And they're at the point now where it's easy with AdvantEDGE being entirely cloud-based. We have all of our clients have been cloud-based. We've been in the cloud for 16 years. Although it's our 30th anniversary, we've had 16 years being in the cloud, which makes us quite an old company in that sense. And we don't actually, didn't know the word cloud when we started actually hosting on our own servers in Coventry. But we're cloud-based, Maximizer cloud-based. So actually linking the two together is just a perfect opportunity. And we're just waiting for the technology to come together. It's reached that really important point where, you know, we can do it. So this solves many problems where you've got pieces of information locked away in contacts in Outlook and in different modules, and bring it all together. And the people that will be able to use the AdvantEDGE CRM are not necessarily people that actually will have actually used AdvantEDGE in the past. So Julia, thank you very much. I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you very much.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Chris, for that introduction. And I think that really sets the scene as to how it's actually going to be useful for you guys, rather than it just being a piece of technology. So just let me take a step back and introduce Maximizer. I just wanted to talk about who we are, why we should trust you, how our relationship with someone like Edge works, a little bit of background on what CRM is. I know some of you guys will be very familiar with it. Other people might be going, it's something I've heard of, but how does it fit into my life? And I just really wanted to explain that we're really hoping to make your lives easier. That's what it's all about. Software shouldn't be a chore. It should be about making life easier. So let's just dig into it a little bit. So we're a Canadian company, as Chris mentioned. We are actually based in beautiful Vancouver. I don't know if you ever had the chance to go there, but it is a stunning place. and I do like going to the headquarters over there. We have been in CRM for 35 years, and we're a little bit different to some other people in the software industry, and that is our bread and butter. We don't do anything else. We live and breathe customer relationship management, or council relationship management now. We're also slightly different in the fact that we're privately owned. We're part of a group of company called the Concord Group, which is very diverse, very interesting. If you ever want to meet up over a glass of wine, I'll tell you all about it. But yeah, it's a really fascinating group of companies to work for. I myself am based in around the Berkshire area, so we have offices all around. And all my colleagues here in the UK are based in Bracknell and Berkshire in general. But what we actually mostly do is that we find channel partners like Edge to work with. So we are the software people. We provide the solution. We have the really cool software that we're really proud of. But what makes it really special is then finding someone like Edge who understands an industry, who understands a vertical, as we often talk about, and who then can bring that software to life and make it useful. And so that when you start using it as an end user, you're not faced with a blank piece of software that you're kind of thinking, oh my word, this is going to take me forever to set up. And that's really the magic of having a big channel partnership. And that's my job here, to look after people like Edge and making sure they've got all of the tools they need to really make Maximizer work for your industry and not just for any other. And you can see from the next slide that we are mainly, I must say, we are mainly based as an SME. We're not a big, massive CRM provider that deals with the huge companies. We do usually focus on SMEs, but we do have some nice customers that I can sort of have my little show-off slide here. You'll see people like Chris mentioned that before, the BBC uses Maximizer. So if you are a correspondent and you need to know who's the specialist in Jamaican politics, you'll be able to find that kind of information in Maximizer at the BBC. So really different use to what it was probably originally designed for. But then you also have somewhere like the University of Oxford using it. There's a lot of universities who use Maximizer in the disability department. So there they would make sure that their students have got wheelchair access, they've got audiovisual equipment that they might need, anything like that. Maximizers in the background, quietly beavering away, making sure that all of that is in order. But as I said, it's otherwise a lot of SME, a lot of financial services, because we're a very secure platform. So we do have a lot of financial services industries using Maximizer, and they'll use it for things like wealth management, know your client information. So it's very diverse. And the reason for that is that we do have these brilliant channel partners who turn the software into a solution. So that's the most important thing really to take away from that. So we've already talked a little bit about why Maximizer in particular, why not any other CRM solution. So as Chris mentioned, we're cloud-based, which makes it very easy. You don't have to worry about software upgrades. You don't have this thing hanging over your head where you're constantly thinking, oh, you know, it's now 5 years old, I'm going to have this upgrade hanging over my head, I can't update it, it's got old data in it. This is going to be something that is constantly refreshed. We take care of the updates. Edge does the customization and the automations in the background. So it makes life easy for you. It's something you don't have to worry about. It's based in UK data centres. As I say, we're a Vancouver-based company, but we do have a strong UK presence. And so we use the Azure data centres, and they are UK-based data centres. No hardware is required. There is different levels of security that you can choose depending, obviously, on your background and your organisational needs. We'll be able to work with you on that to see what is right for you. And then the other thing I think is very important is that you will be supported locally. So you already probably know, most of you, Edge, they will be your first line of support. You'll be able to pick up the phone, ask your questions, arrange training, and have that support locally. And then Maximizer, our UK support team, is the second line in the background. So again, we're local time. We're here to support Edge. You probably won't ever really speak to us a lot because your main relationship will be with Edge. But I think it's always lovely to know that there is, the local support, that if you do ever need to reach out, have questions, you want to know something, we're in the background and we're in the same time zone as you. And then the Vancouver support team is like the third line. So there's lots of local and brilliant support around. It's also probably worth mentioning that we integrate with other tools that you might use. So there's going to be integrations with Outlook, which we'll talk a little bit more about, Gmail, Word, Excel. The Excel integration is actually very powerful because you can sort of put everything into a spreadsheet. It is actually to the point powerful where we have security on there because you don't want someone to be able to dump all of the information into Excel and then you don't know who's walked away with it. So the security is on that level as well, that you'll be able to restrict access to that kind of functionality. And with things like Word, you'll be able to do good old-fashioned things like mail mergers, which we all still have to do, and it's all integrated. So why CRM? I think, as I said, Chris has already painted a beautiful picture. Really, what we want to provide for you is this centralized knowledge base. We want you to be able to have all of the information at your fingertips and in one place. So building a picture of previous interactions is what we're talking about. Why have you spoken to someone before? Who have you spoken to? What is the previous interaction history? And it might be yourself, it might be a previous colleague, it might be a current colleague, but you'll be able to pull all of that information into one place, which I think is the real magic of what the guys at Edge are talking about. And we're not just talking about interactions with customers, we're also talking about interactions with suppliers. So there could be partners that you're working with, other district councils. You'll be able to have a place where you can manage some of that interactions. You might be working on a contract, you'll have a documents tab that will have the contracts there. You can go back to them at any time. They can be shared with all of your colleagues and you'll be able to have everything in one place. And it just makes life a lot easier. And it's moving us towards that goal of the paperless administration. But if you're anything like me, I want to be that paperless beast, but I also want to have the detail. What is it actually that I've spoken about? Where are my notes? What contract am I referring to? What has the interaction been? Where has been that email? And CRM really helps you become that more organized person. And I think it's something we can all strive to be. And I think it's an ongoing process. And also GDPR, which I think is always something that we're going to be talking about, although I do hear that there is some talk about changing it, but the good news is that with Maximizer, you will be able to ensure that all of that information is GDPR compliant, because you're obviously talking about sensitive data, you're talking about having data in one place, but you will be able to show why have you interacted with that person. Why do you have his email address? What was the first point of contact? All of those good things that make software GDPR compliant. And you'll be able to fulfill freedom of information requests at a touch of a button. And it'll show these are the interactions. This is why we're compliant. We do care why we have this information. And if you need to remove it, again, it's easily done. And as the compliancy and the rules evolve, you'll be able to change that, because with Maximizer, you know, we as the manufacturer, we obviously do the big updates and we change it, and it's a constant evolution of, you know, how can we make life better for our customers. Whereas Edge will look after the the integrations and bringing all your data together and all of those good things. But you, as the end user, will actually be able to add things that make life easier for you, because you might think, well, this is brilliant, but actually I'd also like to track people's birthdays. So would that also like to add a specific button to Maximizer, and will also allow you to do that. You don't have to be a programmer. It's not a static bit of kit. You will have the power to add these fields, which I think is really important. So what does that mean to you, and how does it fit into the new work-life balance? I think looking at the brilliant agenda that the guys at Edge have put together for you, sounds like you've already talked about the new way of life, how things have changed post-pandemic. I know my life has changed. I'm sure yours has as well. There's some aspects that are brilliant, some aspects that obviously we're still working through, but I think we can all agree that life has changed. And with Maximizer, you've got the mobile app. You'll be able to install Maximizer on a tablet, on a smartphone. Just download it from Google or Apple. Very easy to set up. All integrates. You don't have this, isolated instrument that doesn't link up to anything else. What does that mean? It means you can, be on the go and still do your job, which I think is really important. I was out in meetings all last week. I had to book appointments. I had to get ready for a holiday. I was lucky enough to be away for the weekend, and I was thinking, oh gosh, actually I've got a lot to deal with. I got on the train and I could still, make those appointments, synchronize some documents that I needed to make sure that my colleagues had. I was able to send emails and make phone calls. Life didn't stop just because my life got busy, and it's a great bit of technology that really allows you to make that work-life balance work, which I think is we are finding all very important. And I've actually, just to go into the calendar functionality a little bit more, because Chris was saying that he thought people would be particularly excited about that aspect. So this is just a couple of screenshots from what Maximizer looks like. So when I talk about organizing yourselves and your colleagues, I had a circumstance last week where, as I said, I was off for the weekend. I wanted to be organized. I didn't want to work, but I did have something really important that needed to be done. So I set my colleague Diego a task. I said, please make sure you ring this business partner. This is the relevant information. This is linked. And the brilliant thing with Maximizer is that it isn't an isolated task, or it isn't an isolated calendar appointment. It will be associated with that client, with that customer, with that partner. And you will have all of the previous interactions linked to that appointment, and you'll have all of the previous history in one place. And so when you come to work on a morning and you see that task that you set yourself 6 months ago, you can say, okay, why did I do that? What are the related emails? And you'll have everything related to that. And if one of your colleagues in another department or anybody else has put information in there in the meantime, you'll also have that information to hand, which I think is really powerful. And as time goes by, you'll start building up all of that brilliant history that will remind you, oh gosh, I have dealt with this before. I really must remember not to say such and such and to say such and such. Or I must remember, that actually the renewal is up on the 6 months place, but they're the type of people who will need 60-day payment terms, so I must send it out early. It's all those little things, all those little reminders that make life easier and really push the information together, and that's where we become more efficient, I think, as people. So just to wrap it up, really, I think the relationship with Edge will grow at this point, as Chris mentioned before. This is going to be sort of the first steps down this line where we're getting ready to launch this product. There's a lot of work going on in the background, bringing all this information together. And then the next steps will be about getting feedback from all of you lovely people about, so what can we do to make it better? What reports do you need to move forward? Because reporting is always one of those things that I think it's very important. We all have to do it, but it's always good to know what will actually make your life easier. We had a brilliant case a couple of weeks ago where we were working with a lady, and she spent every Friday morning doing a report, which is fine. We're used to doing that, but life gets in the way. And she'd often say to us, well, yes, theoretically, I have my diary blocked out Friday mornings from 8 till 12. I do the report. Hopefully, I get it done, but then someone who books in a meeting, somebody does this, somebody does that. And what gives us the good feelings is that we were able to help her because we made her more efficient, because she had the data to hand, because she didn't have to go to 50 different places to look for information. We made that a 10-minute job, and that was brilliant. And that's the kind of efficiencies that we live for, because we're software nerds and we can't help ourselves. That's the kind of stuff that makes us happy. So it's really that, moving forward, it will be an evolving, forward-moving relationship, and that's what we're really excited about. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully that's given you a little bit of a overview. I think Chris hopefully is in the background, ready to show you some actual examples of what we're actually looking for. So I will stay online for any questions at the end, but hopefully that's been a bit of an overview.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, we'll question and answers in about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to share my screen now and we'll actually start the demonstration. This is our finance system here. And if I come into here, I just want to have a quick look at the current credit control situation. And I'm going to focus on, sorry, Roland, I'm going to pick on you, Bilsden Parish Council. And I can see here, he's got a particular bill that's actually outstanding. So I can just double click onto that. And sticking with the paperless theme, sure enough, here's a copy of the bill, and that's fine. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you how we can do that actually using a slightly different approach. So this is Maximizer, which Julia was just showing you a moment ago. I have on the screen here the address book. I've already got it selected with just a couple of examples. I've got a couple of clients. Here's Bilsden. And here I can see we've actually got email, contact numbers, and details. And I've also got some suppliers here. What we've done is we've added an extra tab for AdvantEDGE CRM. Now, when I click on this, this is able to give me a live link through to our AdvantEDGE module. And it shows me that actually, in this particular case, there is, sure enough, there's £18 actually owing. So if I was to click on that, £18, and I can see there we've actually got the unpaid amount. I can then see also here how much has been paid so far. Now, if I can have a look at one of my suppliers, this is Datto. Datto are on the session after us, and I can come into here. And the same, here, everything appears in this window here is being fed by this link we have with AdvantEDGE. And what we're looking to do is supply not only financial information, so in this case, I can see this is a history of all of the bills that actually we've paid for their various Datto wonderful services, and this is how much we actually owe them at the moment. What we're also looking at here is we've got extra columns here for supplying information for how much, if they're an allotment holder, how much they've actually owe us. If they're just a regular customer, how much? If they're a regular hirer, or maybe they got a market stall or an event holder, they can actually see those details there. And what we've also got over here on the right-hand side is the ability to actually see whether that particular person has actually reported any problems to us, how many are outstanding, when they last reported them, and whether they're completed or not. So if I was to now just go and do a little bit of a search. One of the nice things we can do is we can do some credit control here. So if I went into here, this is only an example. It is using some current copy of some of the information that we hold. So I've just done a quick search here, and I brought up, so well, I'm only interested in customers. So I brought up the customers, and it's automatically changed the view. So it's now profiled according to the actual age. So for instance, here, if I want to see who is it who's got the oldest debt, sorry, it's Roland, he's the customer on there, which is over 90 days. Now, if we were to click in here and say everything's due coming in the next 30 days, you can quickly see here. So we can pick on this particular one and then go to CRM. And then sure enough, this is actually what's unpaid, and I can click on that. And what we'll be able to do in the future is have a button here that you can click that will also bring up a paperless copy of that invoice as well. And it's all being fed live from the AdvantEDGE system. Now, the beauty about this is that if I was running this on a mobile phone, everything you see here would also be available as well. The live links might be more of a challenge, but we will get to that with a bit more development. And all we're trying to do here is demonstrate the concept. We've been able to do this quite quickly, and what we're planning to do is launch this next year, and it will, for the very first time, provide all parishes and all towns with that a shared address book over here, so you can search and you can run reports. But also you have the ability to actually use the shared calendar as well, so that actually it's a bit like sharing calendars in Outlook, but these calendars link into Outlook, so that all works fine. So here we are, here's the one for today. And you've also got your hot lists over here, which will keep track of things that need to be done. So if we did here, to come up, sure enough, this is something I had set myself a reminder yesterday that I actually really needed to actually record a video for today. Unfortunately, there really wasn't time, and so hence we're doing a live session, and you've just seen some of the challenges of live sessions, but there's no smoke or mirrors here. This is live, it's real, and we've got it all up and running. The beauty about all of this is that actually it's all cloud-based. It's all designed to be paperless. So if we come back to here, go back to what Julia was talking about at the beginning. We've got each of our modules here, and the maximizer is acting as that central hub there, so that actually the information can be shared. So we're not ready to launch yet, but it won't be long. Early next year we'll be releasing this, and we've got some more development to be done. But we thought the 30th showcase would be a great opportunity to share with you what our plans are. It's a bit of a glimpse into 2023, and you can see the direction of travel. And it will be, the pricing for this is yet to be actually worked on, but it will be appropriate for the size of the council. And it will provide you with that ability to actually share information for everything that's on that wheel of modules into that central location. And it will save my development team having to actually develop that central hub, and we can leverage all of the power and the experience of Maximizer, so that actually we get the best of all worlds by doing that. Just stop sharing. Okay, Julia, it's you and I, we're back on. Questions? Julie, did you have any questions you want to, anybody put anything in the chat they want to ask us about?
Yeah, you've answered the one from Kevin about the CRM cost, and he's asking about how the pricing is going to be structured. You just touched on that towards the end of your demo there. Okay.
I'm just on that point. We do recognise that there is the objective is to be affordable to all sides of council, and we recognise large councils will get more benefit out of it than smaller. But we are not going to be looking to price ourselves out. This is something we've been waiting to do for a long time, so it will be appropriate.
Good. And it was interesting that on the slide there, Julia, you said you can also make calls from Maximizer. Could it replace an office-based phone system?
I think
You'd hook it up with Teams, wouldn't you, Julia? Something like that.
yeah, probably. Yeah, it does integrate into Teams as well, but that's like an evolving thing. But it's more about phone calls on the go, really, that I was talking about. So from the mobile app, you'll be able to click on the link and make those phone calls. So you'd still be using your mobile, but it's just that not having to go through your email, find the phone number, remember, copy, paste, all of that kind of thing. It's all there, and it's just a simple click of the button. So it just makes life a lot easier, I find.
Okay. Kevin's just put in a follow-up question. Is could it do call transcription?
I can't see how that would be possible, because it's who the call handler actually is, Kevin. We are looking at working with things like Microsoft Teams, and there is some integration already between Maximizer and Teams, and we're using Teams for today's webinar, and our team, Kevin, actually are able to now make phone calls from Teams out, and there is some functionality in there that actually, for instance, everything in this webinar is being transcribed automatically. It's a Teams functionality. I'm not aware yet of getting transcription actually for a call yet through Teams, but certainly what could be looked at is a recording. So there's a recording of that call, and certainly when we do it through Teams, everything is recorded, so we have that. In fact, the other option is we're a business partner for a product called Televox, and I know for a fact every Televox call is then actually an email is actually sent with that recording, and then you could actually attach that recording into Maximizer and somebody else could play it. That might be, actually thinking about it, that might be a better option. And then there is transcription software you could use, convert that MP4 file into a transcription.
That could be useful in terms of the next question I've got is, could we use the Max to manage contact from residents, especially those frequent flyer residents that, can be a little bit vexatious. And so being able to keep track of telephone contact and even possibly content of the calls could be very beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be able to either have it in the address book. You could use the customer service module. Chris, I'll leave that up to your good knowledge as to whether you want to put, bring that part of Maximizer into it. But I think the address book, you have this beautiful new report, which is an interactions report. And if you transcribe all of the interactions you've had with them, you'll be able to say, this is how much contact I've had with frequent flyers. I love that terminology.
Yeah.
And I was just leading on to a GDPR question, but go on, Chris.
I was just going to say on that one, if all phone contact was recorded as a note against the address book or contact entry, if then the decision was actually, I need to do something about this, it's not just a record, but I want to do something, then you could actually log it as a job into the AdvantEDGE Service Manager. In the same way as we got the Report It portal coming through that will link into our AdvantEDGE Service Manager. So Report It will go onto the council website for people to report positive or negative issues, and that will end up in the Service Manager. So equally, it could be that they would bypass Report It by ringing their favorite person, the clerk, and telling the clerk directly what they think about it, and then that could be logged as a note, and then the clerk could raise that as a job in the Service Manager, which actually then would keep it all tracked in, because if the decision is to do something about it, then that would trigger then the actual job creation, and then your frequent flyer would also have a record of what the clerk decided to do with it.
Just going on to the GDPR aspect, is there a sort of a one-click button to remove personal details of anything over a certain date so that we can destroy data if it's no longer relevant? Is there an easy way to do that with Max? Thinking about residents' contact details.
Search and you can purge. It provides you all the tools, but is there a nuclear destruct button? No, because actually that's never a good idea. You don't want a Trump type problems where you're itching to press the button as you have an outgoing clerk. I would never say an outgoing clerk would want to clear their records as they went out, but just saying they did, you don't want that to be as easy as a single click. But yes, there's a good feature which you actually say, don't contact this person again. So you can make sure that they don't get any more emails or messages being sent out from Maximizer. And there is a nice regular process where you can actually, if somebody exercises their point either to request to be forgotten or it's over a certain period, then you can search, because everything is date stamped. So you can actually do that. We'll be able to pick up all the notes and so forth, the last time you contacted them. So there are tools in there to help, but there isn't a nuclear button.
That's probably a good thing, actually. So thank you very much, Chris. That's it on the question front. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Julia, thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Well, and it's not very often I say it, but actually this is an exciting development for us. It's 30 years since we supplied any software to a town and parish council. It goes back to the likes of Castle Bromwich and Cockermouth, and they're still clients of ours. And now the technology has evolved. And when we first started, it was software on a stack of 35 3.5-inch floppy disks. Now we're talking about this level of integration because of the internet, because of the cloud. So it's great to have the opportunity to do it. And everyone is now ready to actually exercise the benefit from this. So being paperless, where you've got everything linking together, I think, yes, it's great. And we're looking forward to 2023 with that.